breathe. Have you ever found yourself in a discussion, surrounded by a storm of noise, and even after saying everything you felt you needed to say, you walked away feeling empty, hollow, defeated? Have you ever felt that familiar knot tighten in your throat, that burning pressure behind your eyes, as every word you spoke, every carefully crafted argument, seemed only to push you further away from your own strength? The replayed arguments in the shower, the perfect retorts that come hours too late, a silent torture chamber of your own making. Perhaps you live your life surrounded by people who speak loudly, who interrupt, who dominate every space with an arrogance they disguise as confidence. The intellectual bully at work, the emotional vampire in your family, the sea of shouting heads on your screen. And maybe, in the deepest, most secret part of your mind, you started to believe their lie. You believed that staying silent was a sign of weakness, that not defending yourself was surrendering, that not reacting was losing. But what if I told you that this entire reality is an illusion? A meticulously crafted cage built of noise, designed to keep you weak and reactive. And that true power, the kind that shapes worlds and bends reality, has never been found in words, but in their deliberate, crushing, and terrifying absence. Friedrich Nietzsche, one of the most dangerous and misunderstood thinkers in history, saw something that few have the courage to admit. Those who talk too much reveal too much. Those who feel the desperate need to convince others are already at a disadvantage. They are slaves to the opinions of the room. Today, we don't just explore an idea. We begin a transformation. We will deconstruct your reality, tear down the prison of noise, and show you that the silence you once confused with submission can become your most absolute and powerful weapon. The mirror of silence. Why do we feel this desperate, primal urge to respond, to rebut, to correct, to prove that we are right? The answer is as profound as it is disturbing. We have been conditioned since birth by what Nietzsche called herd morality, a slave morality. It's not a written law, but an invisible code, a psychological operating system designed by the weak to survive in a world they secretly fear they cannot dominate. This code has simple rules. Don't rock the boat. Don't make others uncomfortable. Be agreeable. Be understood. In essence, make yourself smaller so others can feel bigger. This desperate need for external validation is the desperate cry of a fragile ego. An ego that cannot stand to be questioned because its entire sense of self is an external construct. A house of cards built on the shifting sands of others' opinions. It confuses disagreement with a threat to its very existence, and so it turns every conversation into a battlefield for its own survival. Nietzsche saw this with brutal clarity. When most people argue, they do not seek truth. They seek reaffirmation. They are not testing the strength of their beliefs. They are desperately trying to convince themselves that their fragile reality will not crumble under the slightest pressure. Their arguments are not tools of exploration. They are defensive armor. Their entire sense of self is a fortress with paper walls. The moment you feel the compulsion to justify yourself, to prove your point, you have already lost. You have entered their game on their terms. You have signaled that their opinion of you has power over you. You become a reactive agent, a slave to the stimulus of their words. You have willingly handed them the keys to your emotional state. True strength, Nietzsche argued, lies not in convincingly winning an argument, but in not needing to enter it at all. It is the power that comes from an internal, unshakable center of gravity. It is the power to remain calm while the storm of words and emotions rages around you, knowing that none of it can touch the core of who you are. This is not passivity. This is mastery. Nietzsche contrasted this with the figure of the last man, the ultimate product of herd morality. The last man seeks only comfort and the absence of pain. He has no great ambitions, no great loves, no great contempt. He is small, content, and equal to everyone else. He is the ultimate sheep. But Nietzsche proposed an alternative, a being who transcends these limitations. The Übermensch, the overman. The being who creates his own values, who dominates the world not through shouting, but through absolute, unshakable self-control. The silence of the Übermensch is not the silence of the oppressed, nor of the coward. It is the silence of the warrior who has already won the battle before it has even begun. The reactive mind is a subjugated mind. The observing mind is a dangerous one. Knowledge without practice is dead theory. It is time to move from understanding to embodying. From now on, you will learn to transform your silence from a defensive shield into a precision weapon. Here are the 3 weapons of silent dominance. Weapon 1, the silence of observation. While others talk, getting lost in explanations, emotional outbursts, and trying to fill every available second with noise, you listen. But you do not listen like someone waiting for their turn to speak. You listen like a hunter listens to the footsteps of prey in the forest. You are not listening to what they are saying. You are listening to why they are saying it. You are cataloging their choice of words, their hesitations, their unconscious tonal shifts. You perceive the fears hidden between the lines, the subtle contradictions, the insecurities disguised as arrogance. You are gathering intelligence. And when you finally speak, if you choose to speak at all, your words will be surgical. They will land with the devastating precision of someone who has already mapped the emotional and psychological territory of the other. Weapon 2, the silence of tension. Learn to let the silence last. The pause is an element of pure power. In a world of constant noise, a deliberate pause is a rupture in reality. While the other person speaks, waiting for your reaction, and it doesn't come, they experience an internal collapse. The discomfort grows. The void you create is a vacuum, and the human psyche abhors a vacuum. It will frantically pull from their own subconscious to fill it with their own guilt, their own fear, their own paranoia. They will fill your silence with all the weaknesses you need to see. They will reveal themselves to you completely. A simple, unwavering gaze, accompanied by 5 seconds of unbroken silence, can have more impact than 10 well-formulated sentences. You become the gravitational center of the conversation, not by adding to it, but by withholding from it. Weapon 3, the silence of unpredictability. When you master silence, you become unpredictable, and the unpredictable is always feared. They expected a chess game with predictable moves and countermoves, but you have flipped the board. You are no longer a piece. You are the gravitational force that dictates the rules of the game itself. People don't know what to expect from you. When they don't know what to expect, they lose their advantage. They become cautious. They start measuring every word. You invert the logic of interaction. You are no longer reacting to them. They are desperately, pathetically trying to get a reaction from you. This is pure dominance. But be careful. This strategic silence must not be confused with passivity. This silence is active, tense, charged with intention. You are not withholding. You are preparing. You are choosing your position from a place of strength that doesn't need to be displayed to be felt. But this brings us to an even more dangerous and delicate truth, because up to this point, we have talked about how to use silence to win. But there are moments when the game is not just about winning, it's about emotionally surviving. There are situations where people are not debating you. They are using you. And in those moments, your silence may not be a strategy, but a silent scream from someone who has lost control of their own life. This is the most perverse trap of all, being conditioned to think that your silence, the swallowing of your anger, the avoiding of conflict at all costs, is a sign of maturity. Nietzsche saw this with brutal clarity. What you call peace is often just your domesticated surrender. You have confused the silence of the lamb with the silence of the lion. The silence of the lamb is the silence of submission. It is a prayer, hoping the wolf will pass by. It is the silence that swallows you from within, as you are being shaped by the expectations of others. You are no longer yourself. You are what others need you to be. This is the opposite of what Nietzsche called the will to power, because the true will to power is not the drive to dominate others, but the relentless drive to dominate oneself. The silence of submission needs to die, and in its place, the silence of presence must be born. The silence of the lion, the silence that does not bend, that does not apologize for existing, the one that stands up amidst chaos and, without saying a word, changes the course of the situation. This is the silence of the individual who has become the master of themselves. How to reach this level? By killing the herd morality within you, by being reborn as someone who imposes authority with their mere presence. This is the silence of the Übermensch. It is not an absence. It is pure, unwavering presence. It is mastery. It is the sign that you are no longer reacting to the world. You are shaping it. From today on, your silence needs to change its tone. It needs to stop being an escape and become an invisible shout of authority. A boundary. An affirmation of who you are, even if no one understands, because who you are does not need to be understood. It needs to be lived, and that requires courage. Do you have that courage? Then make a commitment to yourself, a public affirmation, because words have power, even when they speak about silence. Comment below. I choose the silence that commands respect, not just so I know you made it this far, but so you can declare this choice to yourself and the world. Subscribe. The next lesson is essential.